right, Mr. Charles Leon, I want to thank you for taking 10 seconds of your busy day to spend it with me, my brother.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I brought you on specifically because I wanted people to hear from other people's voice that have gone through it. And way back a handful of years ago, we sat down, started discussing the road to investing and the different strategies behind it. And I want to go from the conversation. You were already a homeowner, you had bought your house, and then you wanted to start building a portfolio. We'll take it from there. And then I want to graduate to, let's say, the latest deal that you're working on and kind of tell that story. So from the beginning, once you have bought your home, which is a common step that most people do, now you're like, all right, I want to start investing. At the time, you were dating your wife, who wasn't your wife at the time legally, which gave you some advantages based off our conversation. I'll let you tell the story.
Yes. So yeah, I purchased the house at that time. It was my primary home. And yeah, it's nice because I was able to get a low percentage down on the property and a good interest rate. So it was a nice deal that we got. And I mean, you know how much the housing has gone up. So the house has appreciated over 100%. So that's a positive thing. So, but yeah, a little bit after that, I mean, we did that transaction with the condo that we purchased, which was a purchase. My wife kept telling me that it wasn't a good buy. And a couple years later, I had it rented for 2 years and then ended up selling it and making a $70,000 profit. She changed her mind after 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 the 70,000 came in. So that was nice. I learned a lot process, how to depreciate the asset, how to do a lot of things. So it was definitely a learning experience. Thank you very much. I know you coached me through a lot of that, so appreciate it.
I don't know. My pleasure, especially when you get a win like that. I think you owe me a dinner from it. I will tell you that much. But
Fair. That's fair.
I will say this, though. The strategy that we implemented back then, because you weren't married at the time, you can buy an additional property with her being the primary residence, so she can house hack it and keep it for the first year as a primary residence, then turn it into an investment property instead of buying it under your name and having to give 20 to 25% down. You were
Right.
able to pick up that condo that eventually turned into a $70,000 profit by house hacking a one bedroom condo with a minimum down payment. I think, if I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was probably what, 3 to 5% down instead of 20,
Yeah, I
25.
think it was like 3% down is what it was. Yep.
Right. And then you got some tax advantages from it, like you expressed.
Right.
And then eventually, after renting it and it was covering, paying for itself, you were
Mhm.
able to take advantage of the appreciation, sell it, make a nice little chunk of change. And that is where the ball started rolling for you, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Now, fast forward the day of today, you're about getting ready for a closing. Tell me a little bit about that deal.
It was pre-foreclosure, and the homeowner was actually auction date was in 4 days. So speaking with the
4 days
homeowner
from today or 4 days from when you
from the
originally
date
contacted
that
them?
the day that I contacted them. So it was 4 days away. So homeowner, just to give you a little bit of insight, it's 70 years old lady on a walker, and she basically didn't have anywhere to go. So I was able to work out a deal where she's basically doing a subject to. She's transferring the property under my name. She did have a nice amount of equity in there, but we were able to sit down. We did her finances, and I know what she can pay without it breaking the bank. So she's able to rent that property for a long term and not lose all that equity that she had to the bank, because she was literally about to lose her property in a few days
And end up with nothing.
and end up with nothing and bad credit.
Right.
So
So you're able to bring back the loan into good standing. So now it's caught up.
mhm.
And then you're now the owner of the house and you're going to turn around and rent it back to her so that she doesn't need to have to move, find another place to go, or basically end up in the street, which was the only option if it was going to go to auction within 4 days of that conversation.
Right. And I'm able to rent it to her at a discounted price compared to the market, which the deal makes sense for both of us. But again, she's 70 years old. I think that her knowing and having peace of mind that she has a landlord, that if something happens to her roof, plumbing, electrical, anything that happens to that property, she's able to pick up the phone, make a call, and know that her situation is taken care of, because she's at a later stage in her life and she doesn't want to deal with those things. or she doesn't have the funds to do it.
Right.
So,
And you make a good point. She doesn't have the funds to it. If she would have had to find another place because she ends up in the street if they foreclose on it, the amount of rent that she would have to pay staying in
oh,
this
yeah.
city would be impossible for her to afford. And now any wear and tear or any kind of issues can get fixed because now it's your property. It's a good investment for you because you have equity now in the property that you're going to be able to cash in. Plus, now you have an investment property that you can do some tax advantages, some cost segregation, and save money that way. So it's a win win situation for the both of you. Not to mention, she is probably, I would imagine, super grateful that you knocked on her door.
Well, yeah, she had no idea that the auction date, and just to explain, the auction means that your property they bid on it, and they basically knock on your door and tell you, "Hey, I'm the new owner, get out." So she had no idea that it was going to be that fast. Then again, she had been 8 months without paying her mortgage. She was hospitalized, and she just, it's just it was bad timing for her,
Yeah.
So a
She
lot of
wasn't
things
even checking
happen.
the mail. She wasn't answering phone calls, nothing.
So, to me, I'm actually happy that I'm able to have her, and plus in her home that she's been there. Her husband passed away 5 years back. She's able to stay where she has her memories. She doesn't have to 70 years old, having to pack up your stuff and move. It's not easy, So
No, definitely.
just, it's fulfilling to me, and to her, she's happy that she now has someone that's gonna, solve any issues that the house may have.
I call that smart money, my friend. You're building your wealth, you're making impact, you're solving a problem that somebody else has. They're actually extremely thankful that you came in and saved them because, like you said, they had no clue. And you, at the same time, not only can feel good about coming through for her and building wealth for your family, but I imagine that gives you motivation to continue building your portfolio and stacking wins like that.
Yes, sir.
Now, break down how you even found out before they even knew. You basically specialize now and focus on trying to identify people going into foreclosures. And then what? Give me a little bit of background on what your strategy is. People are interested in knowing.
When the people go into pre-foreclosure, that gets filed at the court. I get that court document, right? It's public information, and I go and I knock on their door, and I make them aware, because usually from the time that I can get the document to the time that they get served with that document, there's usually a gap between 2 to 3 weeks. So, and then from that point, that's 2 to 3 weeks earlier that they have to make an actual commitment or to just take action. You have to take action at that point, because you don't know if, there's some banks that take a while to set an auction date, but there's some that do it fairly quickly. So it's, it depends how long you've been in the process and all that stuff. But yeah, knocking on their door and just walking them through the process, even if I can't buy their property, but knowing that I was able to tell them that information and help them through either, if they do a loan modification or whatever it is that can help them, it's satisfying. It's
Yeah,
satisfying to me.
you're the
So
initial messenger at that point.
yeah,
Now,
exactly.
people are scared to have conversations. And I always tell people you're one conversation away from an opportunity that changes your life. I'm sure not every conversation is a happy one when you're knocking on people's door and they're opening it and you're breaking the news that they just got into pre foreclosure. We just talked about a win, something that went really well. But how many times do you face the opposite of the conversation where people don't want to hear it, don't care for you being on their doorstep? And what's your mindset behind that to keep going to be able to have moments like this?
Well, it's first of all, when you have that conversation with people, it's I guess they feel a little bit embarrassed that they're in that situation. But also, you have, if you have empathy with these people, and you try to connect with them, and you ask them how they got into that situation in the first place, you'll be surprised how many people open up and say, "Hey, this is how I got here," and you will hear some crazy stories sometimes. But there's other people that you might have to visit a few times, like you said, because they think they have it handled, and they don't understand that when they're in that situation, it's a time clock. You have to make a decision, and a lot of these people are in that particular predicament because of indecision, and it's you leading them to a decision and helping them through that decision. It's what's going to get them to either save their home or sell it or take some of the money that they, the dream is to buy your first home. You know what I mean? And then that dream gets killed when they file a foreclosure notice and they take away the money that you've earned or that you've paid into your property. You know, it's kind of sad.
100%. You have experience in different investments. We're talking smart money here. Why is real estate one of the ones that you like to gravitate to?
So if you have a product, right, you can have a phone, a pencil, whatever it is, you sell that product, you could sell that product 100 times and your profit margin is always going to be from this gap to this point. You know, it's always going to be pretty much the same, in the same ballpark. But in real estate, you can find deals that you can't find in any other business. You know, it's you know, hey, I made 200,000 today, and people look at you like, seriously? It's, yeah, seriously. And I helped somebody out and they're super happy that I helped them and grateful and all that stuff. So to me, real estate is just, you know, it's a vehicle to wealth. And there's going to be times where you might knock on that door and people don't want to talk to you, and that's okay, because when you see how many people you have helped that have received the helping hand and the information that you're trying to give them, it's satisfying. But any business in sales, it's a numbers game.
My brother, I'm not going to take up much more of your time. I know it's dinner time, so I'll let you get back to your beautiful wife and kids. I want to thank you. It's a pleasure always when we connect. You're one of the few people that I love that we connected in a working relationship and it's now turned into a bond of friendship. You're also one of the few people that take action, and I respect not only for what you do, but also the things you share and the things that I learned by being a part of your journey. So I appreciate you letting me in your space, brother.
Thank you so much. And this speaks a lot because I like to stay connected with people that are similar. So I say the same thing about you.
Brother, tell Natalie that I say what's up and that I'll see you guys over the next toast.